Michigan Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow and Missouri Republican Senator Roy Blunt. They're co-sponsors of the Excellence in Mental Health Act. Senator Stabenow, let me start with you. Explain to me exactly this bipartisan bill and why it's necessary. What gaps in the law exist that this is filling?
Well, Chuck, it's great to be here with you and with Senator Blunt, my great partner in this effort. Right now, 1 out of 4 people in our country have some kind of a mental health issue. The good news is, starting in January, all health care policies going forward will cover mental health as it relates to insurance. The problem is that we still have a big gap in the community. Yesterday, Senator Blunt and I went to the floor to commemorate the 50th anniversary of President Kennedy signing the Community Mental Health Act. It was a very important milestone. Unfortunately, the last bill he signed as president before his death, but it put in place the whole premise that rather than putting people away in institutions, people will be treated at home or in the community. Problem is, funding's been cut for years in the community. What our bill does is put in place a way to fund community mental health services that is like the great success we've had with federally qualified health centers. It encourages them to work with health centers, work with VA clinics in the community, and to actually do the last step in mental health parity.
Senator Blunt, is this something that, is this new money, new tax dollars, or is this something that you think some conservatives will be comfortable supporting if it means new federal money?
Well, I think so, and it's not a significant amount of money. It is new dollars, but we use a model that works. The federally qualified health care centers could expand to add behavioral health, and a number of them in my state and other states are doing that anyway. And so we've got a model that works, and frankly, the tragedies of the last couple of years, drawn attention to this issue. So Senator Stabenow and I both believe that we've got a model that works, and frankly, a moment that works. This is something that the Congress could do to respond to these tragedies. You know, after Newtown late last year, the Senate committee that deals with mental health had the first hearing on mental health they've had since 2007. For whatever reason, this is something that as a society we haven't dealt with the way we should. It is the consistent thing in the tragedies we see. It's also important to make a point here that people with mental health challenges are much more likely to be the victims of crime than they are the perpetrators of crime. But whether it was Newtown or the Navy Yard, a movie theater, or a college campus, the one consistent thing always was somebody with a behavioral health challenge that hadn't been met properly, and another question is hadn't been shared properly with others who needed to know.
You know, it's interesting. When you guys said that you were working on this together and said that you would appear together to do this, it's sort of an anomaly now, right? Bipartisan efforts by U.S. senators these days seem to be few and far between. But what's interesting here is if you look at our most recent NBC Wall Street Journal poll, members of both parties say they want their own leaders to make compromises over sticking to their guns. A little more on the compromise side among Democrats and their message to Democratic leaders than among Republicans and their Republican leaders. But I guess, Senator Blunt, this is for you. Why is this such a rarity that you're standing next to a Democratic colleague pushing bipartisan legislation?
Well, it's a rarity, and the result of that rarity is we don't get anything done. I mean, you have divided government. By definition, you have to work together if you're going to have a final work product. And whether it's the appropriations bills or just the normal work that Congress does, we've fallen into this pattern of thinking, if I don't get what I don't want anything, and that's going to produce nothing. And so if we're going to get things done in a divided government, we have to find those things we can do. I think the president, Chuck, you and I have talked about this before, is in the best position of everybody to think, what would he like to see happen that's possible? But all of us need to be thinking not just what we'd like to see happen in our perfect view of what could happen, but what's possible. And I think Senator Stabenow and I and others want to work to, in this case particularly, find what can be done and find a moment we can do it in.
But Senator Stabenow, you had some success in getting a bipartisan farm bill done in the Senate.
Big success. Big success,
but it's not a success until it's signed into law.
Yeah, it
and
will
this has been been a bigger challenge. Why do you think this has been so difficult? Why is this such an anomaly, seeing the two of you standing here?
Well, first of all, I should mention that Senator Blunt and I have actually been working together since both of us came into the U.S. House in 1997. The very first bill that the two of us got passed was an agricultural research bill together on the Ag Committee. So we have a long history of working together successfully. But I think there's a lot more desire than is portrayed. I mean, obviously, we all know what happened in the last few weeks and the recklessness and
Well, let me stop you there. How about what happened yesterday? We had another partisan divide over nominees.
Well, what I would say is that whether it's the Farm Bill, whether it's mental health, whether it's immigration, people know, I think in the Senate, colleagues on both sides came here to get something done, certainly in the Senate. Now, there may be others that did not, but I think there are many of us who get it. You know, the public saying, stop this, cut it out. We want you to solve problems. We want you to get things done. And that's what this is about. And I can't think of anything that would impact more people right now in terms of improving quality of life than to pass the Excellence in Mental Health Act, which touches every single family in the United States.
You know, Senator Blunt, I want to put up a poll number here about the health care law that we had overall, and that is, you know, is it working well? 6% believe it is. It needs minor modifications, 38%. Needs major haul, 28%. Should be eliminated, 24%. I want to focus you on the fact that basically we have 66% of respondents want either major or minor fixes to the law. They don't want it repealed. So where are you on this? Are you somebody that says, you know what, maybe it's time for Republicans, if they don't like the law, to offer up ways to fix it?
Well, I think the major or minor fixes means that we had a good health care system that wasn't working perfectly, that could have been and needed to be changed. That's sort of the major fixes to the law. How do you fix the law in a major way? I think we're going to see what happens now with the president's health care law. You know, the website will be fixed. My view is it's the easiest thing they'll ever do with this law. But we clearly disagree on just the fundamental premise of this law in the Senate and in the country.
Do you want it to work?
Senator Stabenow and I agree on a lot of things, but this is something we don't agree on. Chuck, again, we don't agree. I don't think it can work. I think it's based on a couple of premises that mean it can't work, and so to work it would have such major changes that you'd almost be better off to start over again. But you know, I'm pretty confident we don't agree on that, and we're going to find the things we agree on to work in. I think Obama's health care plan, the president's health care plan, may turn out to be the biggest enemy of Obamacare is Obamacare, when people really see what it does. But that's not what every member of the Senate would think. It's just what I happen to think.
I understand that.
If I can jump in, because I mean, obviously, that is a point on which we disagree, and we respect each other's views. We have very different views on that. I believe that affordable health care for every person, you know, 3 out of 4 of us already have health care in some way through an employer or Medicare or the VA or so on. But for the folks that don't, it's time to fix it, and we got to make sure this works right for sure. I think what is most important, though, is that with Roy and I, we can have differences and look for common ground, and that's called governing. I mean, we have a big country. We have people with very different views. It's a democracy. It's not about looking for the ways we don't agree. It's about looking for the ways we do agree. And if we could start with where we do agree, we could get a lot done.
Well, it's a good note to end on. Senator Stabenow, Senator Blunt, you're both the believers in this crazy federal system that we came up with, right? That you got to find a way to find some middle ground here on some things. Anyway, thank you both.